All right, how many excited to dive into the Word? I actually just went down to check out the kids, and I was down there. They have way better moves than you do. They're down there worshiping, and they got their groove on. I was like, man, you got to come up here and show the mature people how to worship. And so it was awesome. I just want one really quick thing that wasn't the announcements that I want to share with you that we're working on. Some of you are getting to experience winter in Vanier for the very first time. Just believe me, it gets better. It actually gets better as the snow falls. What we want to do is we are going to turn the front of the stairs into a drop zone. And what does that mean? You can actually pull up and drop your family off, and then as a good man of the house or husband, you can go and find parking, but your family can just kind of come in the church. And so we are going to clear that space moving forward, that is going to be designated a drop-off area. We're going to get some signs made, and just to make it a little bit easier for a lot of you. And how many like that idea? Even if you don't, we're going to do it anyway. So just roll with it, right? Just roll it. Well, we're excited. We're launching a brand new series. It's our Christmas series. How many excited for Christmas? How many you're like crazy Christmas? You decorated in October. Is there any really crazy? Kurt's crazy Christmas. But regardless, it is really the most wonderful time of the year, especially for the church. It's the easiest time to invite people to church because it's kind of built into the DNA of people. They think they need to go to church on Christmas and Easter. And so we want to capitalize on that. We want to encourage you to be inviting out your friends and family members. Say, hey, listen, this Christmas, why don't you come and check out church? And it's going to be amazing. We're launching into this whole series called God with Us. Everyone say God with us. God with us. Easy to roll off the tongue, but we got to understand if we're on the mountaintop, if we're in the valley, whether it be crowded streets or malls, or maybe we find ourselves in kind of like an empty desert kind of season. It's in our hope, it's in our waiting that we are actually never alone, that we got to believe that God is with us. And today, as we launch into this series, this is the base of our kind of foundation scripture that we're going to be building on each and every week is found in Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. And it says this. This is a prophecy that was spoken by Isaiah about 700 years before this, but what we see the fulfillment of it in Matthew, it says, look, the virgin will conceive a child, she will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means, say it with me, God with us. It means God with us. And I think for every believer, if you call yourself a believer, somebody who has said yes to Jesus, that is really easy to believe when we are on a mountaintop experience. Yes, God is with us. And whether you get a raise at work, how many like getting raises? I mean, God, you're so good. You're faithful. When your team wins, and not like my team that lost again on Thursday, some of you are not praying for my saints, and shame on you. But regardless, when your team wins, if you're a new parent, how many know you're like so excited when your kids sleep through the night for the very first time? You're like, oh my goodness, winner, chicken dinner. This is amazing. God, you're so good. Or maybe you're one of those types that you pull into the mall and the spot right next to the handicap spot becomes available just as you pull in. You're like, Jesus has got my back. Jesus has got my back. Like, yes, God, you are so good. God is with me. He is with us. But sometimes, most of the time, if we're being honest, it's more difficult to sense his presence when we find ourselves in a valley. When things aren't going the way that you think they should or how you want them to go, when you get bad news, when you're hurting, when you feel a little bit alone, when you're worried, when you're afraid, when you're anxious, when you're battling depression. How is it that we begin to stand on the truth that God is with us even in those moments, even though it doesn't feel like it, even though it doesn't look like it? When we feel that, hey, everything that was good in my life, it feels like it's being robbed, it's being destroyed. Everything I've been hoping for, everything I've been praying for. God, you're really with me? Where are you in this? See, we don't just live life on the mountaintops. A lot of us want to live there, but we don't. And it's actually not a healthy place to live. And some of us in our life right now, and maybe for you and for somebody else, you've got pockets in your life that are really, really good. You're like, hey, this is going great. My marriage is actually going well. Hey, we're doing the work. It's going well, but now I got some kids. They're making some crazy decisions and stupid decisions, and that's hurting you. And you're thinking, okay, God, where are you in that? I see you here, but I don't see you here. Or maybe you've been kind of working on your intimacy and you've been growing closer to God, and you feel so close to God, but you've got this incredible fear and anxiety because you might lose your job. You're thinking, God, where are you in this? And maybe you're really excited about Christmas, and hey, this is a great time of the year. We're going to have family together, and we're going to be getting together, but maybe you got some really bad medical news, and you're thinking, okay, God, there's this excitement, but where are you in this? And for a lot of us, there's a lot of good things that are going on. There's some good things going on in our life, and yet there may be one or two, three or four things that just kind of take you down into that valley, and you're thinking, where are you, God, in this? You're supposed to be with us, but where are you? And so that's what we want to kick off our Christmas series with, talking about God with us even in the valleys, right? Because we're all going to go through valleys. And it's important that we know the truth of God's word, that we're not immune to those, that we actually have to go through valleys in our faith, in your life. And when you look at Scripture, when you study Scripture, valleys represented a couple of things. When you would begin to dive into Scripture, when you read about great battles in the Bible, they often took place in valleys. And maybe you find yourself in a battle right now. Maybe it's a physical battle, a financial battle, emotional battle, an addiction battle. That oftentimes that's where battles take place. They were actually seasons of depression. When you look at people who went through valley experiences, they were seasons of loneliness. Right? Sometimes when we're in a valley, it was like everyone's deserted us. Not only God, but everyone. I feel just so alone. And it's interesting that valley seasons are actually where we grow the most in our faith. You know, you don't grow on the mountaintop, you celebrate on the mountaintop. You ever been to the top of a mountain? Nothing grows up there. There's nothing up there. It's great view and it's awesome. You're like, yes, made it, king of the world, but there's nothing that grows up there. It's the same thing for your faith. Our faith doesn't grow on the mountaintop. We actually celebrate on the mountaintop. And here's what I want you to get today. We may enjoy God on the mountaintops, but we actually get to know him intimately in the valleys. Right? That's what happens. We enjoy him on the mountaintops, but we actually get to know him intimately in the valleys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Bible. We're actually going to go to the Old Testament. We're going to look at Psalm 84. And if you've ever read Psalm 84, you've most likely gone right past these verses and didn't really think much of them. And if you stopped to actually ponder them, you might think, well, I don't really get them. I don't think they really make a lot of sense. What I want to do today is I want to look at them and bring some insight from God's word that I'm believing is going to impact your life in a spiritual way, in a very real way, that's going to get you to understand that, hey, God is with me even in the valleys, even in my valley, that he is right there with me. So we're going to read Psalm 84, verse 5 to 7. And it goes something like this. It said, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on a pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. And they go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion." An incredible portion of Scripture. Maybe you've read it before and you're thinking, okay, what does this really mean? But we hear, right here, it says, everyone, or as they pass through the valley of Baca. What was the valley of Baca? Well, it was this kind of desert county. There was thorns, wild animals, vipers, cougars, mountain lions, wild boars. It was a dangerous place. When you were to pass through this valley, it was actually nearly impossible to go through it without facing some danger, without facing some hardship. And where does the Valley of Baca get its name? Most likely from a tree that was in the valley. And it was a tree that had a very similar spelling to that, but the tree would ooze out sap. And if you walk by the tree, as people walk by it, they would say, hey, this looks like a weeping tree, because the tree actually looked like it was crying. And that's how the actual translation of the valley of Baca, what it translates to different ways in Scripture. It's known as the valley of tears. It's known as the weeping valley, or the valley of loss. That sounds encouraging, right? Yeah, I don't want to go in a valley. I don't want to go through that. Now, here's the deal. If you're not a follower of Jesus, if you've never said yes to him, and you're reading something like this, I'm telling you, we're glad you're here. We are so glad you're here. And if you don't know God intimately, chances are that when you go through something difficult, when you go through something hard, what do you say? I've had enough. I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. I'm actually overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. I'm exhausted. I just don't have enough in me. And I hear that so often, and even from believers, when you look at the season that we're in, some of them are just kind of at their wits' end. And the truth is, for an unbeliever, that if you don't know God intimately, if you don't know that he's got a plan and a purpose for your life, if you don't know any of that, all you have is all you have. That's all you have. And when you're at your wit's end, you have nothing to lean into. You have nothing to trust. You have nothing to stand on. But as followers of Jesus, as ones who have said yes to Christ, that we believe that we have a strength that when our strength stops, that we actually lean into Christ's strength. It's something that goes way beyond who we are, that we have access to this heavenly strength. And that's why when you read verse 5, what did the psalmist say? He says, blessed are those whose strength is in you. Whose strength is in you. It's a divine strength. It's a heavenly strength. And it's a strength that it's not rooted and grounded in anything that we can do. And the beautiful thing is, as followers of Christ, that strength is available to you. Right? What does the scripture say? When we're weak, he is strong. Right? That his strength is made perfect in our weakness. But we don't like being weak. We don't like feeling weak. And it's actually an incredible place to be, because it's only in our weakness do we get to experience his strength. And as a follower of Christ, that should be something that encourages you, that you say, okay, I feel helpless right now. I feel hopeless right now. I got nothing in me right now, so I know that I'm in a perfect place for God's strength. Blessed are those whose strength is in you. And you want to begin to understand how you can go through the valley, put your strength in him. Put your strength in him, not in anything this world has to offer, because you're finding out it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help. And if you're in the middle of a valley right now, you find yourself in the valley of Baca, of weeping, that you need to understand you have access to very real, very present, the power of God. He's available to come and assist you, to be with you, to walk with you. Blessed are those whose strength is found in God. I love what the text doesn't say. It doesn't say, hey, blessed are those who figure it out on their own. Right? Blessed are those who are so good that they don't need any help. Blessed are those who pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Blessed are those who are just really, really determined. It doesn't say any of that. And I think one of the biggest problems that we see in the world today, that we see in our culture today, is we almost idolize this spirit of independence. Right? We almost idolize it. And well, hey, I don't need anybody. I don't want anybody. I could do this on my own. I'm going to be financially independent. I'm going to be completely good on my own. I don't need to trust anybody. I don't need to lean into anybody. I don't need people to be there for me. I don't need God. I can do this on my own. One of the most popular book sections at the bookstore, you know what it is? The self-help section. Right? It's a self-help section, and I can do this. I don't need anybody's help. I can do it on my own. Can I tell you, we're not created to live a life independent? It's why when you read the scriptures, if you go back to the very beginning of the story, what did God say? It's not good for man to be alone. It's not good for man to be alone, that we are meant to do this thing called life in community. We're meant to lean into each other. We're meant to be there for each other. We're meant to support each other and walk with each other. That's the beautiful thing about Scripture. When you look at Scripture, when you look at the heart of what God designed, it's not about being independent. It's about leaning in and trusting that, hey, I'm part of something bigger. I'm actually part of something bigger. So I want to show you this verse in a different translation. I love the NLT. I love how it kind of translated sometimes in some ways. It doesn't change the meaning, but it gives us a different look at it. And it says this in Psalm 84, verse 5 of the NLT. It says, "What joy for those whose strength comes from the Lord, and this, who have set their minds on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem." Who set their minds on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Now you're thinking, okay, what the heck does that mean? What the heck does that mean? I think one commentary that I read kind of summed it up this way. They said this: to get to the city of refuge, and that's what the city of Jerusalem was, that place of peace, that place of rest, of refreshing. To get to the city of refuge, you had to travel through the valley of tears. There was no other way. There was no other way. And what does the scripture say here? Blessed are those who have set their minds towards God. That their minds are set on Him, that our minds are set on Him. And Paul even kind of comes alongside that and he writes, set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. What else does he say? Well, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, what is ever excellent, what is praiseworthy, think about these things. If we're being honest, in our context, in our culture today, in the environment that we see happening, it's hard to fix our minds on Christ. It's hard to fix our minds on God when we've got all this different news and bad news and fear-mongering that's going on right before our very eyes. Isn't it hard to set your mind? Because it's racing everywhere and we find ourselves in valleys and we're thinking, this is hard. Can I tell you, what you think about matters? It really, really matters. And to go through a valley, we need to have our minds fixed on Christ. They need to be fixed on Him. And your current circumstances and situations may be in the valley, but our minds need to be fixed on God. Because we're going to go through them. You're going to go through a valley. And I'll tell you, you're going to go through more than one. You're like, this is such an encouraging Christmas service. Right? It's the truth. It's the truth. And when you know that in the context that when you go through valleys, we can actually rejoice. We can actually say, my mind is fixed on Christ. My mind is fixed on the author and the perfecter of my faith. And so I got to go through the valley, but guess where I'm getting? To the city of refuge. Guess where I'm getting? I'm getting to that place of peace. I'm getting to that place of healing. I'm getting to that place of deliverance. I'm getting to that place of breakthrough. Hey, I'm just passing through. All right, you're starting to get it a little bit. Your heart could be anxious, but is your mind fixed on Christ? Your soul could be aching, but is your mind fixed on Christ? Your emotions can be racing, but is your mind fixed on Christ? There's too much to do. It's Christmas time. How am I going to get it all done? How am I going to pay? My marriage is in a bad place. It's causing all this stress. We got the in-laws coming over. What is going to happen? Is your mind fixed on Christ? Because you can't really change anything else. And you know who doesn't change? Jesus. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And can I tell you, the Jesus who was with you on the mountaintop is the Jesus who is with you in the valley. And all you got to do is keep your mind fixed on Him. Because here's what it says. It goes on to say in verse 6, as they pass through the valley. That's very important. As they pass through the valley. Look at your neighbor and say, I'm just passing through. Online, let me hear you say, I'm just passing through. As they pass through the valley of Baca, very important here. What's it say? They make it a place of springs. They actually do something in the valley. They're not like, this is not fun. They actually do something. They make it a place of springs, and the autumn rain also covers it with pools. Some of you need to change your perspective and your mindset that when you're going through a valley, that's just it. You're going through a valley. This is not my home. This is just a path to where I need to get to. This is just a place that I need to go through to get to my place of peace, that I'm just passing through, that my God is actually with me, that I can do this. One of the most famous scriptures in the Bible that talks about a valley is Psalm 23. And a lot of you could probably quote it. Right? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Now, it's interesting when you read that. What does that even mean, shadow of death? Well, I've actually had the opportunity to be in that valley. It's the Kidron Valley. It's on right by the east gate of the city. There's this valley, and then you have the Mount of Olives. So it's right in between there. And it's actually known as that portion of it doesn't get any sun. Just the way the mountain is positioned and the way the city is positioned, there's almost no sun that shines on it all day. So it's known as the Valley of the Shadow of Death, because what would happen during the time of David, it's that part of the valley where they threw all the junk and the garbage into. It stunk. It wasn't fun. And so interesting that David actually writes this psalm as he's fleeing from his son Absalom that wants to overthrow him as king, that says, we need to kill my father. So some of you have read Psalm 23, you think, such a nice psalm. Yeah, that's what's happening. David is running for his life through this valley of the shadow of death. And what does he say? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me, and you actually set a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows, and surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. David understood, I'm just passing through. I'm running for my life. I'm running for my life, but I know this, you're with me. I know this, that even in the midst of this, that there's a place for me to be refreshed. There's a place for me to be restored. I may be in this difficult time, God, but I know that you're going to get me through. God, I may be hurting right now, I may be depressed right now, I may be discouraged right now, but I know that I'm not going to be this way forever because I'm just going through. I'm not camping out here. I'm not building a tent here. I'm not making a city here. I'm just passing through. It may be dark. It may be a valley of tears. But I know when there's pain in the night that there's joy that's going to come in the morning. So I'm just passing through. And the reality, what happens when we find ourselves in a valley is so often, what do we want? We just want out. God, get me out of here. And God usually kind of shows up. He says, I'll get you out. And the only way out is through. Right? Really, that's the only way out, is to continue through it. But what we do is we camp out in it. And we think, well, this is my lot in life. And God has abandoned me and he's left me. And this is where he's left me, in this valley. So we sit down and we say, woe is me. And we have our little pity party. And we actually kind of lose all understanding, that right in here, God is with us. And because our mind is fixed on everything else, we're defeated, we're discouraged, we're depressed, and we're just saying, God has forgotten me. And I see so many people, I chat with so many people, that's where they find themselves right now. Yeah, they remember the mountain. Man, I remember when God was here, but you got to understand, he's with you in the valley. He is with you in the valley. And when you want to get to that place of pilgrimage, that city of that peace, the house of God, you need to go through the valley. There's no other way. There's no way to get around it. We got to go through it. The valley is the pathway to the place of peace. And when our mind is fixed on Christ, we can go through. We can go through because we're not looking here and now. We're saying, no, there's my goal. That's where I am going. I'm going to that place of peace, that place of refuge. It says, as they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. They actually do something. They actually one translation says they actually make it a well. What are they doing? They're digging a place to pool some water so they can be refreshed. What do we do in our valleys? God's forgotten me. Here I go again. I'm all by myself. And we have ourselves a pity party instead of in the middle of our valley saying, oh God, you're so good. That even in this valley, you're going to provide for me. That even right now, as I'm going through this valley, that I'm going to dig a well. That I want your presence right here with me right now. That I'm going to be refreshed right here, right now, in this dry place, in this place that feels desolate, in this place that is nobody ever wants to stay here. I understand that you're with me. And so I'm going to make room for you right now in the midst of my valley. I'm not going to let my valley determine who you are. I'm going to begin to call out to you. I'm going to fix my mind on you. I'm going to worship you. I'm going to praise you because even right now you're worthy. Even right now you're worthy. They did something. They made it a place of springs. And you got to understand, in your valley, God wants to minister to you. God wants to meet with you. God wants to encourage you. That's why he says to David, I set a table for you in the presence of your enemies. So often we forget that there's a table there. So often we forget that we can actually sit in the very midst of our chaos, in our storm, in our frustration, in our discouragement. We can actually sit right there and be refreshed. While all your enemies are around you, looking at you, you're like, hey, just being strengthened, just passing through. Just fueling up, just me and Jesus, we're just hanging. Right? We're just sitting right there. In the midst of everything, it says, you set a table for me in the presence of my enemies. And I think it's almost God is like, he's saying this, show me your faith and I'll show you my faithfulness. Right? Show me your faith and I'll show you my faithfulness. Man, if you dig it, I'm going to fill it. If you call out for me, I'm going to come. If you draw near to me, I'm going to come near to you. Show me your faith, and I'll show you my faithfulness. And so often, what do we do in our valley? We wait. Well, God needs to do something. God needs to make a way. God needs to provide a way. He's saying, no, just come to me. Just come to me. Just call out to me. Just ask, hey, I'm going to be there. Isn't that kind of how Jesus operated? Right? When I look at the life of Jesus, what did he say to a guy that had a messed up hand? Stretch out your hand. And what happened when he stretched out his hand? Healed. Wow. Jesus didn't go up to him, lay hands on him, and he actually stretched out his hand. What did he say to the lame guy? Hey, get up and walk. Well, no, you're not going to like do something like touch me or rub something on me or no, just get up and walk. Show me your faith and I'll show you my faithfulness. When we're in the valley is the most difficult time to have faith, but God is just waiting. He is just waiting for us to say, when you understand that buried in this passage of pain is a promise that if we call out to him, if we dig it, he's going to fill it. If we dig it, he's going to fill it. If you draw near to him, he's going to draw near to you. If you seek him, you're going to find him. If you make room for him, guess what? He's going to reveal himself to you. But the onus is on us. It's not on anybody else. It's not on God. I found this in my life. Maybe it's the same for you, but even when I look at Scripture, God very, very rarely reveals himself when you're rushed, right? And I go back to Exodus where you see this incredible encounter with God, and Moses is looking and he sees this bush burning, and he's like, that bush is on fire, but it's not really burning. And what does he say? I got to go check this out. I got to go check this out. And it's interesting, the very next line, it says this, when the Lord saw that he had caught Moses' attention, then he spoke to him. You know what God could have done? Hey, Moses, come check out the bush. Moses, I'm over here. I want to talk to you. Come over here. He didn't. He waited for Moses to make the first move. When he saw that he caught his attention, he spoke to him. Psalm 46:10, we all love that scripture. What's it say? Be still and know I'm God. Sometimes we just got to say, okay, God, I'm going to sit in the middle of my suck. And I know you're with me. And right in the middle of this, I'm not going to have a pity party. I'm making a place for you. right in my hardest moments, right in my diagnosis, right in me losing my job, right as my marriage is falling apart. God, I know you are with me. So I'm not going to have a pity party, but I'm going to make a place for you. And God, I need you to come. I need you to invade my life. I need you to invade my marriage. I need you to make a way. God, I need to fix my mind on you. And you know what God says? I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you. Man, come on. We are just passing through this valley. Nowhere in the Bible. If you've found it, I would like to know about it, but I haven't found it yet. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that you'll never have to go through a valley. It doesn't say that those valleys are going to be there, because valleys are where we grow. Valleys are where we grow intimately with God. Valleys are where we get to know His goodness, His faithfulness, His love, His mercy, and His grace. Mountaintops, we just celebrate with Him. Valleys are where we grow. Do we truly understand? Hey, Christmas is so great. It's so amazing. It's so awesome. Do we truly understand the promise that He will be called Emmanuel, which means God with us? Do you truly understand that for your life today, that God is with you? And that's the foundation that we want to build on this Christmas, because it's easy, like I said, to say God is with me on the mountaintops. But a lot of us, we find ourselves in valleys right now. Do we know that God is with us? Do you know He's your light in darkness? He is your peace in the storm. He is your joy in trouble. He's your strength when you're weak. You enjoy Him on the mountaintops, but you get to know Him in the valleys. You get to know Him in the valleys. You're strengthened in the valleys. You grow in the valleys. So what do you do if you find yourself in a valley this Christmas season, like so many actually find themselves? Well, I think we do what Psalm 84 says. We seek His strength. We fix our mind on Him. And maybe we just got to dig a well. Maybe we just got to dig a well and say, okay, God, fill it. I need you right now. I so need your presence right now. Let me end with this and then we'll pray. Psalm 139, verse 7 to 10 says this: where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Some of you don't even understand it, but God's with you in your valley right now. He's right there with you in your valley. And He's just waiting for you to call on Him. He's just waiting for you to sit down at the table that He's prepared for you. He's just waiting to meet with you, to strengthen you, to encourage you, to refresh you, to restore you, so you can continue on that path to the city of refuge, so you can keep going to your healing, to your deliverance, to your breakthrough, to your provision, that you can keep going. He is with us. Let's stand, let's pray. I'm just going to get you to bow your heads. We'll pray together. Father, we're just so thankful today for how good you are. God, and forgive us for so easily looking at our situations and circumstances and living in fear, by being discouraged, God, by questioning you and how can we be so alone, and how can you allow us to go through this? God, forgive us for that, because we've all done it. Lord, I pray the truth of the promise that Isaiah spoke, the promise that we see fulfilled in Matthew, that there would be a child that is born and his name will be Emmanuel, which means God with us. And that still rings true today, that you are with us regardless of where we find ourselves. God, and just because we can't see it and just because we can't understand it, God, we know now the truth of your word that says you're with us. but there's some stuff that's required from us. And God, I pray that this Christmas season, for all of us, God, our strength would be found in you. That we're not going to look to anything else. We're not going to look to our bank account. We're not going to look to maybe our Christmas bonus. We're not going to look to our kids. We're not going to look to our spouse, but our strength is going to come from you. And forgive us for looking for strength in other things that have actually left us empty. God, we're going to fix our mind on you. God, in the midst of our valley, we're going to understand that this is something we're just passing through. That this is a place where we're going to get to know your faith and your goodness and your faithfulness. So our mind is fixed on you. And God, we are going to include you in our valleys, and we're just going to make a well. We're just going to dig a well and say, Jesus, I need you to fill this. God, I need your presence right here, right now. I need to be refreshed. I need to be restored. And God, we know you're going to be faithful to fill it. So God, I pray for all of us that this Christmas season is going to be a really different Christmas season. Yeah, we're thankful that we get to hang out with friends and family and exchange gifts. But God, the greater truth that we're going to understand is in the midst of this crazy world we're living in, that you are with us. And for that reason, we rejoice and we celebrate and we're thankful. And we say, whatever valley we need to go through, we're just passing through. And we know that in our valley experiences, we're going to get to know you more intimately. So God, our hearts are open, and we simply make the choice to draw near to you. This Christmas season, we want to draw near to you. In the midst of our frustration and discouragement, we're drawing near to you. In the midst of our marriage that may be falling apart, we're drawing near to you. In the midst of the diagnosis of sickness, we're drawing near to you. Because we know when that happens, you draw near to us. Father, we are so desperate for you. God, we don't want this to be just another Christmas season that comes and goes. But we want this to be a season where we get to know you more intimately, more deeply, because you're so good. Tell you what, if you're here today and maybe you were invited by a friend, maybe you're watching online, you came across this and you've seen it and you've never said yes to Jesus. And like I said earlier, for us that know who Christ is, we understand, that he's with us. We understand that we can lean into him and we can trust him. But if you've never had that experience of saying yes to Jesus, then you don't know that. And like I said, all you have is all you have. And when you come to your end, where do you go? And a lot of people, you know what? They've come to their end. And maybe that's you today. You've come to your end. Maybe it's a depression. Maybe it's discouragement. Maybe you thought, hey, I thought this was going to get better, but it hasn't. And my life is falling apart. I have no security in my job. I have no security in my finances. It's not in my relationships. It seems everything is falling apart. Your answer? It's not cliche. It's not religious. It's Jesus. And that's it. It's Jesus. Because it's in him that you're going to find everything you need. It's in him that you're going to find the fulfillment of what he has for your life, purpose. And when you say yes to that, all that changes. The world's not going to change. But you're understanding now that you're part of something bigger, that you don't have to do it alone, that now you have a strength. When you thought all you have is all you have, God says, now watch what I can do. Because now my strength is actually made perfect in your weakness. That I'm for you, that I've got a plan and a purpose and a destiny, and I am with you. And you can stand on that assurance in any valley, in any storm, and you can have a peace that you've so looked for and so longed for. But you can have a peace that surpasses all understanding, and it's only found in Jesus. So, okay, Rob, what do I need to do? Because I need that. Well, it's simple. It's about you acknowledging that you need Jesus. And why do we need Jesus? Well, because, believe it or not, all of us were sinners, right? That's why Jesus came, to fix sin, to actually make a way, to forgive sin. So we're a sinner, and the first thing is understanding, okay, God, I've lived a life apart from you, and I've sinned, and for that I'm sorry. I really am. We actually confess our sin. And it's not a sign of weakness, but it's the only way that we get to experience the greatest gift ever in Jesus. And the Bible says when we confess our sins, that God is faithful to forgive our sins. And he doesn't hold it against us. So we acknowledge we're sinners, we confess, and then we believe that Jesus not only died for our sins, but he rose again. So that means you can have life. That means you can live a full and free life. That means in the midst of storms, you can have a peace that surpasses all understanding. So I want to pray with you, and I want to give you an opportunity. And if you're here today, I'm going to ask you to be brave and bold and do something that if you've never said yes to Jesus, you would say, Rob, that's what I need in my life. Would you pray with me today? I need Jesus. I want Jesus. I can't do this anymore. Would you pray with me? Then I'm going to ask you to be brave and bold and just slip up your hand so I can pray with you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Tell you what, we're going to pray a prayer. And this is not about joining a church. It's not. It's not about joining a religion. It's about surrendering to Jesus, because that's where life starts. That's where freedom starts. So because we're a family here, we're all going to pray this together. And let's just simply say, Jesus, I so need you. And today I recognize that I'm a sinner and I need forgiveness. I thank you that you died for me, for my sin, so I can live for you. So I make the choice to surrender my life to you. Would you fill me with your Spirit so I can live for you, so I can love you, so I can serve you all the days of my life? That even when I go through a valley, I would know that you are with me. In your wonderful name I pray. And everybody said, amen. Well, bless you guys. You are free to go. If you would like prayer for anything, we're here to pray with you, and we want to pray with you if you're